Hi, this is Todd Christensen with MoneyFit by DRS. I so appreciate Garish for inviting me on to the Back to Basics show. Please subscribe and keep on listening. And remember, everything in life is going back to basics.
Hi, my name is Julie Wald. Thank you so much to Back to Basics for having me over. Don't forget to subscribe and to listen, and remember that everything in life is going back to basics.
How are you guys? My name is Garish Bally, the host for Back to Basics, another Back to Basics for another week. So we're going to be starting pretty shortly. We're going to be just getting ready, and making sure that everyone's online. And if everyone is online, thank you again for subscribing and viewing Back to Basics and supporting me in all the reviews that you have given me, because you know what? It gives me the hugest boost as ever, because with your feedback, it just makes me stronger day by day and week by week, as I usually say. Now, before we start the interview, I do want to go and announce a certain thing here, that we will be having a pod friends from Back to Basics, and we're going to have a virtual event in December, and we're going to be inviting some few guests. And if you want to be a guest or you want to be a sponsor, how about just contact me sometime in July? We will be announcing the forms and everything, and hopefully my guest might be also there. We never know, right? So let me just go and play that before we introduce our guest online. So listen to it, guys. Thank you. Thank you so much, guys. Hopefully you'll enjoy that, and hopefully you'll be part of that event. It is the very first event that we're going to be having on Back to Basics, and we want to invite all the people who want to speak in there, and it's more for podcasters and more for entrepreneurship, right? And that's where we're trying to bring in, because we have a whole bunch of celebrities out there, but we don't represent great people who have good content. And let's salute those guys and let's bring that into one platform, and that's what I'm trying to do. And hopefully you'll be part of that sponsorship too, and those are just examples of the sponsorship. And just an FYI, I got one guest and one sponsorship already ready to go, but we won't announce it anytime soon. It'll be at least a month or two ahead. So I just wanted to be prepared for that. So let's get back to the show, and let's invite our guest here. Okay, so we're going to be talking. Thank you again for coming to Back to Basics, and we're going to be talking to Mohamed, and we're going to talk about certain things, and we're going to unmask a certain thing, right, and remove our mask. Now, there's a lot of masks do we wear: a happy face, a sad face, a laughing face, and there are many, many more, obviously. But we're going to talk about certain ones, and let's talk to Mohamed, and he is the guest of our show. And Mohamed, how are you? And thanks for coming to Back to Basics here.
I'm really glad to be here, and with a beautiful intro like what you just shared with us, you got me all pumped up. So I'm looking forward to our conversation today, Garish.
Absolutely. Thank you again. You have no idea, Mohammed. I mean, I told you offline, but I'm totally psyched and so excited for the interview today. So thank you again for coming to Back to Basics. But
Thanks.
before we talk about the mask and unmasking and what you are all about and what you're not all about, what does Back to Basic mean to you?
Back to basics is keeping, I like you, I had a podcast and I put it on hold for a while. I called it Unfiltered, and it really is the sister podcast to what you have, because I believe in keeping things foundational, keeping things. Too many people want to complicate life. They want to complicate their own life. They want to complicate their businesses. And when you keep things simple, not simplistic, but simple, you don't need to introduce drama and complexity into your life. So back to basics means going back to our roots, going back to the things that matter most to us. And when we show up authentically in our most basic form and things that matter to us, people will recognize that genuineness, and they'll want to connect with us, whether on a one-to-one personal relationship, whether it's your business. When people understand what you're all about, it becomes part of your brand. So I'm glad that Back to Basics is your brand, and I'm looking forward to talking more about that today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you again, Mohammed, for answering that question, and thank you again for coming on the show. When you and I were discussing on the pre-call before we got on the show, we were deciding that if we were going to do a pre-recorded session and a live session, right? And you got so excited with the whole mission that I have. What really made you change your mind, if you don't mind me asking?
Put me on the spot, right? Exactly this. You can speak more from the heart. Hopefully the people who are connecting with us today and tuning into your podcast can understand that every day is an opportunity to get up and to face the challenges and turn those challenges into opportunities. The worst thing that we can do is not use every minute as an opportunity to become a better version of ourselves, to learn, to grow. And when we embrace each day as that opportunity to learn and grow, we can understand more about ourselves. And just like we're going live with this podcast, I don't know what you're going to ask me, you're going to put me on the spot, but that's what life does to us. It puts us on the spot. When we learn good habits, when we become more self-aware, aware of others, we become responsive, so that we learn to respond better as opposed to react. So hopefully your questions today will get to the heart of what I'm all about. They won't really catch me off guard, because you'll get a flavor for who I really am and what I'm all about.
Yeah,
So
absolutely, absolutely. I will make sure that you will be uh, on the track and not off the track. But thank you again, Mohammed, for
my
making.
pleasure.
Thank you so much for coming here. So let me ask you this: what does emotional intelligence mean to you?
So emotional intelligence, I simplify emotional intelligence because I bring it down to three components. One is to gain awareness of yourself, to know what makes you tick and what ticks you off. Understand your motivators and your stressors. What are the things that make you get up every day? How can you understand what they are? And how can you use them to regulate your emotional energy? So as I was saying a moment ago, you're more proactive. You respond to situations as opposed to react to everything. But self-awareness is not just about you. It's about gaining an awareness of others, gaining an awareness of their needs, what makes other people tick and what ticks them off. At the end of the day, we're here to connect with people, just like you and I are connecting now, whether we're doing it on a personal basis or whether we're doing it in business. Human beings are made to connect. We crave connection. When we connect with others through a lens that we understand more about their needs, and we understand what makes us, what motivates us, and we can regulate our emotions because we know who we are, we're
Hmm.
going to create a bond that is truly genuine, one that is strong. Again, in your personal life, those bonds are the relationships that help you go from day to day and give you strength and help you become a stronger and more efficient and effective person in your relationships. In
Hmm.
your, in the business sense, it helps people connect with you because they'll buy into your brand. They'll understand how you're going to solve a situation for them. Many
Hmm.
times we don't buy into a brand because what it actually does for us, but because we believe in the brand itself. Think
Hmm.
of how we're connected with Apple. We don't necessarily buy an iPhone because we need a phone. We buy an iPhone because we buy into the whole ecosystem of what Apple is offering
Hmm.
us, whether you're an iPhone or an Android. But the point is, we buy into that brand. And so when people connect with you, they understand who you are, they're buying into your brand and they want to be part of your brand.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you again, Mohammed. So when you actually buy something for a brand, right, the first thing I think comes in your mind is honesty and trust. And is there a third one, do you think?
If you have trust, you've got it all, because with trust you have transparency and
Exactly.
honesty, right? Without trust, you don't really have those two. What
Yeah.
trust helps you do is it helps you understand what your core values are and how you make sure that your core values align with your actions. Every day we get up, we have the intention to do something,
Hmm.
but just because we have the intention to do something doesn't mean we'll actually get it done. It's when
Hmm.
we can connect our intention with our actions and make sure that they correspond to our core values. People can see consistency in us. They don't want, I don't want to meet you one day and treat you one way and then meet you another day and treat you differently. Likewise, you want consistency from the people who are engaging with you, because that's what helps build the brand, is dependability. If you
Hmm.
don't trust the brand, if you don't trust the person, you're not
Hmm.
likely to buy into that person's
That's
relationship
right.
or even into that brand.
I totally agree with that. I think that says it all. I don't even think that I need a third option for that. So, thank you again for explaining that. But let me ask you this, right? Now, you were talking about servant leadership, right? And I've seen most of the videos that you have talked about this, but let me ask you this in a personal way. Servant leadership, doesn't it mean more like a pushover, don't you think?
I'm going to throw back at you.
Okay,
Do
yeah.
you, do you do you think servant leadership is pushing over and being a pushover?
Well, there's a reason why I asked this question, right? It's because you have a word called servant, which people might not take it nicely, right? And leadership, you take it strongly because that's a leader of a company, a leader of entrepreneurship, a leader of
Amazing,
whatever. So
amazing. Because
what is your thought now?
yeah, so you set up my answer, because that's exactly what I hope, try to have people understand. Leadership is not a position or role. It can be. You can choose to have authority and command and control type of leadership, where I am who I am and I get to tell you what to do. That's not servant leadership. Servant leadership is where you understand that you're not in it for yourself, you're in it for others. I mean, at the end of the day, we take care of ourselves, we have bills to pay, we have families to feed, we want to go on trips, we want to live. We all have our own goals, our objectives for why we do a certain thing, why we get into business, why we work. Don't get me wrong on that. We
Mm,
all have that self-reflective desire to accomplish the things that we need in order to live.
mm,
I need to eat and drink water. That's survival, right?
mm,
So
mm,
this isn't about saying that we don't need to look after ourselves. Self-care and selfishness are very different. But when it
mm,
comes to leadership, we are here in the service of others. If
mm,
I, as a brand, turn my brand that is all about me, then why would anyone buy into my brand? So, as a coach, if people are coming to me because they want to learn more about themselves, but I'm constantly talking about myself, what I've done, and my story and my life, that's not going to resonate with them. What
mm,
I can do is, from my experiences and my learnings, I take that and I reflect it. I become a mirror where we polish through the conversations that we're having. We're polishing so that they become more self-aware. They understand that by looking at another human being, they're understanding themselves better. Now, what's the difference between leaders and servants? And so we, like you said, we normally see leaders up here,
mm,
power, and we see
mm,
servants over here,
mm,
in service. Well, the
mm,
servant leadership kind of puts the triangle on the top and asks the leaders and the CEOs and the directors who are seen at the top of the pyramid
mm,
to be the foundational, because it means that now you're carrying the weight of the organization. So when you turn that uh, triangle upside down, you as the leader, you're carrying the weight of that organization.
mm,
You are providing a fulcrum through which all decisions are being made. So you're not really taking power away from you, but you're
mm,
sharing power by allowing other people to weigh in and contribute to the vision that you have.
mm,
And when you when you are of service to other people,
mm.
people want to be with you. They want to walk beside you. They might even walk in your footsteps.
Right.
When you are a leader who's leading with control and command and power and authority, you might turn around and realize there's really nobody behind you because they fear you.
Mm,
So I would come back and say to you and to your listeners, Do you want to be a leader who's feared, or do you want to be a leader who's loved? You
Hmm.
might have people follow you for a while if people fear you, but the minute your authority is taken away, there's nothing to connect them with to you. However, when people love you, they're
Hmm.
not following you because of their authority. They're following because there's a genuine connection there. And when you bring in the lens of emotional intelligence, leaders who understand how to share themselves, serve others,
Hmm.
they invite people to truly love them. I call it, when we're learning about others, when we're, I have something called the 4Ds and the 4Ls when it comes to emotional intelligence. Self-awareness starts with diagnosis. So you diagnose yourself,
Hmm.
you determine what you need to do, you develop a plan, and you do it. You get things done. When it
Hmm.
comes to learning about others, you listen.
Hmm.
Inevitably, when you listen, you learn. When you learn, you love,
Hmm.
compassion, empathy. And when you love, you lead. Because you don't just lead yourself, you lead others. And that's servant leadership.
Yeah, that is true. While you were speaking, the first thing comes in my mind is that TV show called I think it's called Boss Undercover. The boss actually goes to the shops and the stores to see how the servants are doing, because these servants are making the company move up, right? And it seems like that's where the love and the emotion comes in, and that's how you were explaining. So it's really brilliant of how that show was and how you're talking about it, and it's kind of pretty much on the same value graphic world that we're going to be living in instead of a demographic world. So thank you again for explaining that. But let me ask you this before I go to the next question: CEOs and founders and CEOs and leaders, do you think they're four different positions, or do you think it can be just one person who's doing this?
So I believe that leadership is a mindset. You don't have to be a CEO or a founder or an entrepreneur to embrace a leadership mindset. You could be the person serving the Big Mac, or excuse me, the hamburger on drive-through. When
Mm,
I go through the drive-through, whether I'm the CEO, whether I'm the person flipping the hamburger, when I go through the drive-through and the person treats me like I'm important, they understand leadership because they understand they're there to serve you and to make your experience one that you will remember. So you come back. So if that 16-year-old working in the drive-through understands anything about leadership, that it's a mindset, that they're there to enjoy what they're doing, to do it through love, to listen to listen and take the order as the person ordered it, to
mm,
understand and learn what the person wants, to
mm,
give the person what they need, to love, right? Getting a Big Mac doesn't mean it's about love, but you
mm.
get your order right, you're happy. You when you're going out to eat, you want to experience something that's going to bring you joy. And then
Yes.
that person is becoming a leader. I worked in a drive-through when I was 16, and I'll tell you, I learned a lot about customer service because
Mm,
it's what you do for others. It's no different whether you're 16-year-old, a 16-year-old
that's right.
working in a drive-through or a 60-year-old leader working, in the corner office. When you understand that the experience you give people who are, coming to you for a product or a solution or a service, you understand that it's about them. That's leadership. If you
Mm,
happen to be the CEO and you behave in the same way that the values resonate all the way across the organization, from the CEO to the person serving the Big Mac, serving the hamburger, then
mm,
you've got values and people want to work in that organization. You've got
mm.
openness, transparency, and you've got trust.
Mohammed, you made me think again here. So, when I moved to the States, I was definitely young, but at the age of 16, my dad told me that you have a lot of money according to your family. You can inherit a whole bunch, but you have no money. So he told me that I need to start working. So I worked at McDonald's and I flipped burgers and I did whatever I can, right? And people actually made me the best one to flip burgers and to cook well, right? So I think I earned that trust from the other people around me as a team. Obviously, I never realized this till you mentioned it, right? So I think I appreciated more as to what I was told, that you need to build your own empire, as per se. And then today's date, I think a couple of weeks back or something like that, I was telling my son that I think you should buy this, and it's only $5. And you know what he told me? He told me is, I don't have that type of money. So it actually shows that we need to start teaching the kids about value of money, and I think it kind of starts from home. What are your thoughts on that, Mohammed?
I completely agree with you. I just want to go back just a step to what you were saying about working at McDonald's, because we've both done that. Imagine now if you have that consistency from the person in the corner office who is communicating the importance of what that person in the drive-through, the 16-year-old,
Mm,
serving. Right, that's what an empire is built on. It's built on the people who are actually helping you share your dream and your vision with the people who are buying your product. It's your
mm,
brand.
mm,
So if you at 16 had somebody explain it to you, your mindset would have shifted.
mm.
The importance in sharing to our children, not just teaching them financial literacy as you're explaining, because that's totally important. They don't teach these things at school. They
No.
don't teach emotional intelligence. So we need to get in there and teach them. But what I think is equally important is taking that message and explaining to children today, explaining to anyone in an organization the importance of that transparency. What you see me do is how you see me act. What you see me talk about is what you'll see me do. It's very important that we create those connections. And so when all of a sudden now we've got a leader in our organization explaining the importance of why you flipping those burgers and serving them through the drive-thru is important, and how not only it impacts the bottom dollar, but how it impacts our brand and why people want to come back to us. When the communication is happening,
Mm,
you've got something that binds the entire organization together. In a family, what are the things that bind us at the supper table? Why is it important these days? And when you look at families and why there's so much why there's so much dysfunction in families these days, right? We talk
mm,
about businesses, but we got to start where things matter most, and they are at home. There's dysfunction in the homes that people take to their work, and especially today in a hybrid or remote work, the
mm.
boundaries are really fuzzy. So we need to make
Yeah.
sure that people are healthy and they're focusing on their well-being at home. If we don't start by supporting our staff at home to help them understand how to have conversations with their families, do you think those people are going to have positive and healthy conversations with the people that they lead? Not. So
Probably
it's
not.
important when we can support people and show them the importance of why I need to talk about my children, about, do we have the budget to do this?
Mm,
If I talk to people at work and say, do we have the budget to do this?
mm,
When we engage and we let people weigh in, they'll buy in, whether they're people sitting around you at these, dinner table and they're your family, whether they're your friends, whether they're people who you work with.
mm,
You become consistent in any persona where you show up, and
mm,
people will start seeing that consistency. And again, that's leadership.
mm. Yeah, Mohammed, thank you again for putting all these nuggets. It's crazy, but thank you again, Mohammed, for giving all that information. So before we go to the next question, I want everyone to know, whoever's online right now, you only have a few minutes left before Mohammed goes away, and you can actually call into Back to Basics, and you can actually talk to Mohammed for at least a minute, and any question, any mindful questions, obviously, and definitely if you want to ask me a question about Back to Basics, if you want, it's 513 Yo B2B1, which is 513-900-2221. Please call in. I mean, you only have a few minutes left, and we only have a few minutes with Mohammed too. So I want to be diligent to Mohammed's time also. But Mohammed, let me ask you this, right? You talked about imposter syndrome. Can you explain what that imposter syndrome means? I mean, obviously I can dissect it and say imposter, which is obviously
Mhm.
imposter, right? And the syndrome is more of a disease. Can you explain that if you don't mind?
Yeah, let's exactly. Imposter. It's the syndrome, and we look at it like a disease. But let's keep it simple. Anytime that you want to do something and you take on the mindset that I'm not good enough, I
Hmm.
can't do this,
Hmm.
right? What you're doing is you're taking your abilities to actually show up and prove that you can. Prove it to yourself first, right?
Hmm.
So rather than tell yourself that I'm superficial, I'm an imposter, I'm a fake, try saying, maybe this is a new opportunity for me, something that I'm not very familiar with. And so I might be challenged. I'm going to learn to do this differently. So it's taking your inner voice, and rather than shutting it down like a lot of people tell us we need to do, don't listen to your inner voice. Listen to your inner voice and start dissecting what it's telling you. Acknowledge your voice. So if your voice is saying, I can't do this, you
Hmm.
see, our primitive voice was trying to tell us, hey, there's fear out there. Be careful. You're going to hurt yourself. Today, we don't realize that there's fear out there. So really that voice is just saying, I'm afraid. And rather than cower and say, okay, I'm a fake, just say to yourself, maybe it's something new. I'm not familiar with it. What do I need to do to become more courageous and take calculated risks? The
Hmm.
other thing is, we often tell ourselves, we're not smart. We're not good enough. I don't know this. But maybe we need to be more flexible and forgiving to
Hmm.
ourselves and say, I'm going to make a mistake.
Hmm.
Okay, that's going to be another opportunity for me to get it right. How
Hmm.
often do we get that in life, that we view our failures or our mistakes as opportunities to try again? Now,
Hmm.
if I say to you that the sky is blue and you say to me, no, it's orange, well, I guess it can be. Let me give you a better example.
Hmm.
If I say to you the moon is made out of cheese, and that's pretty straightforward. Like there's just
Hmm.
some things where we need to accept that they're not true. But
Hmm.
when we don't know, it's okay to make a mistake. And if I continue making that mistake, is this an opportunity for you to guide me and coach me and mentor me so that it doesn't become something that's ongoing? It's a
Hmm.
performance issue
Hmm.
rather than just give me my pink slip and ask me to leave. So how are we treating others when it comes to people who are dealing with their imposter syndrome? And
Hmm.
then, do I have enough confidence to listen to my own advice? What can I do? How can I start telling myself that my own opinion, my values are important? It's these self-limiting beliefs that take our capabilities away and they rob us of our confidence and our courage. So when we start confronting them, acknowledging them, making sense of them, we remove the mask.
Hmm.
We understand whatever is beneath that mask is good enough.
But Mohammed, let me throw a second question, if you don't mind, right? Because the way you were explaining is that you're telling your mind that don't be scared and just move on, right? And move forward and go out to the world and take a risk, right? And you say to yourself, and you're really confident, right? But when someone, let's say like you, comes to me and gives me bad criticism, then my whole inner voice goes demolished, right? So then my self-esteem goes crashed. So what are your thoughts on that part? I mean, how do we control ourselves?
Right. So what we do sometimes is we seek validation from others, whether it's through critical, positive, negative feedback, or validation through social media, the dopamine rush and so forth. We need to, make sure that we understand the difference between our intrinsic value,
Hmm.
what is our self-worth,
Hmm.
and that we don't get without understanding, without becoming more aware of who we are. So self-awareness, right?
Hmm.
When we understand our self-worth, people can tell me till the cows come home that I'm not good enough.
Hmm.
It might hurt,
Yeah. Yeah.
but guess what? I know my worth. I
Hmm.
don't need anyone to tell me otherwise.
Hmm.
What I can use, especially now when the criticism becomes critical in the sense that constructive, people care, that they want to give me feedback so I can grow, then I say, is there an opportunity for me to do better? What an opportunity if somebody cares enough to give me feedback so that I can improve and grow.
Hmm.
So to your point, if you're saying, well, my self-worth, my self-esteem is going to get crushed. Sure. But do I understand my self-worth? Do I know who I am? And
Hmm.
if so, do I need to believe everything that every single person says? Sticks and stones can break your bones,
Hmm.
but you know what? You can become resilient and understand that other people don't know you like you do.
Hmm.
So validate through your own values, your intrinsic values, your self-worth, and not by the words of others. At the end of the day, they don't know you as well as you know yourself. They don't care about you as much as you care about yourself. So you need to step back and say, is this valid?
Hmm.
And if there is validation in what they're saying, in the sense that it's an opportunity for you to grow, awesome. Turn it into a positive and say, how can I use this as a step forward, as a step
Hmm.
up? But
Hmm.
never let it push you down so that you can't get back up, because you get to control how you respond to others. Don't let others take that, agency away from you.
Yeah, yeah. Mohammed, thank you again for explaining that, because I do feel that we need to start telling people that yes, we care, but we don't care too much and bring you down, right? I mean, people, they get bogged down for many different reasons. It could be from business or even personal, which is could be body shaming and all that fun stuff. And we don't want to talk about that, but you understand what I'm saying. So thank you again for Mohammed for explaining that. Before you leave, and you have a few minutes left, but let me ask you this, right? And when I saw your profile and when I saw one of the videos, which you and I, we talked about this offline and on the pre-call. There was this video called "Reclaiming My Name," right? And that actually resonated with me completely. And I've told you this. So, what are your thoughts on that? And what were your thought process when you came out with that video?
So I'll try to be brief here because that really was the encapsulation of my entire life. So one January morning, I was sitting down having breakfast with my wife, and I got a note about speaking at a TEDx, and I thought, I can't do that. It was a dream of mine to speak at a TEDx. And I said to myself, I'm going to. So I put in the application and passed. I put in a pitch. I flew out to Traverse City and did a pitch. And they said, out of, I think, 30 people, they picked 10. And then we were, 3 from those 10 were picked and we got to speak. So that whole story was about me coming to Canada from war-torn Lebanon, growing up here as a Muslim, having to change my name. I took on many different personas, many different names, because I was ashamed of being Muslim. I was ashamed of being Arab. This was the time of the Gulf War. You name it. I mean, September 11th. I mean, even today, it's difficult being a Muslim. But I got to the point, and this was because I went overseas to Spain, and I saw everything that the heritage, my Islamic heritage, had contributed to. And I thought to myself, why am I ashamed of something that gave so much to the world? And why should anybody be ashamed of who they are and what they give to the world? So I was able to go back and use my given name, Mohamed, as opposed to Mike or Mikel or whatever I used, or Miguel, whatever I used. And I reclaimed my identity. And that's when I said, I removed the mask. Now, do we have those on an ongoing day? We have. That's the imposter syndrome right there. We can face the imposter syndrome every day. For me, that was kind of the crux, because being able to reclaim something as foundational as my identity, my heritage, my religion, my name, who I am, it helped me understand how I can navigate through this world and learn to communicate with others and to be proud. And I wasn't waiting for somebody to validate me any longer. I wasn't waiting for somebody to tell me that I was worth it or that I'm good enough. I knew it. So reclaiming who I am gave me back that agency, gave me back my confidence. And it's kind of the place from where I spring. It's the earth from where I spring every day. It gives me that ability to become motivated and know whenever things get really bad, I have something to offer, and I don't have to shy away from that.
Yeah, Mohammed, thank you again. And you and I have actually talked about this and in depth, actually, because I went through a similar thing like that, and it's a shame. That's just how the life is and how the world is, and that's why I like the world which is today, which is the value graphic world, because that really doesn't really matter where you're from or what your religion or what your anything is, right? I mean, we just go by the voice of honesty and the voice of truth and simple and fun, right? And that's what this Back to Basics is all about. So thank you again for Mohammed for explaining that. But very briefly, before you leave, can we tell everybody who you are and what you are? And you have so much that you're doing, but it seems like you're doing less. You and I talked about this too.
So my main focus is to work with others to help them understand how they can become better individuals, stronger, not be overworked, not be overstretched. Many of us are high achievers. We're doing so much, keeping, having multiple jobs and trying to keep food on the table. People that I'm speaking with are just like that. They're people who are overworked, and they need to slow down. They need to stop burning themselves up, especially now in this next normal, as we're leading out of a crisis and trying to define where we go. So what I do is I coach people through emotional intelligence to slow down, to gain self-awareness, to understand who they are and what they got to give to their organizations, to their workplace cultures, to their families, and to the world. So for people who are interested to learn more, they can go to MohamedHammoud.com. They can connect with me on LinkedIn. Let's have a conversation, because it always starts with a conversation.
Of course. I mean, that's where it all starts, doesn't it? So, Mohammed, thank you again for
My pleasure. Thank you
coming on the show. And next time when you do come to New Jersey, New York area, please do look me up. And when I come there, I'll look you up, because
absolutely
you are an awesome person. And thank you again for supporting me. But before you leave, do you have any last quick words to all my listeners and my viewers? And how is your journey on Back to Basics too, on top of that?
Well, you just made my day. It was good to take my lunch and spend it with you and your listeners. And I hope people walk away feeling empowered, because who we are and what we give to the world isn't defined by others, it's defined by ourselves. So keep it basic, go back to your roots, go back to the foundation, and understand that you matter, you're enough, and just be yourself, unfiltered and basic.
Yeah. Mohammed, thank you again, and thanks
Pleasure.
for
Thank
coming
you.
on Back to Basics here. And we'll keep in touch, obviously. So thank you
Absolutely.
again for coming
Thank
here.
you.
Thank you. So, guys, we spoke with Mohammed today, and we talked about the basics of, well, simplicity, didn't we? And we talked about that we have to be honest with each other and grateful. Now, before we leave, and before Mohammed leaves, and I wanted to go and show you, there is a quote of the day from Back to Basics, and hopefully you'll like that quote. The quote is, "Focus and simplicity. Once you get there, you can move mountains." Guys, please, please be mindful and look forward and make things happen. And please be simple and please be fun all at the same time. Now, as usual, as always, what do we always say at the end of the episode? Everything in life goes back to basics, and that's what we did today, guys. Guys, take care. God bless. Keep on commenting on all my episodes, because it does make me stronger day by day, week by week. And there are three things, according to this episode, it makes it a hit for me, which is the content, the guest, and definitely the host. Guys, take care. God bless. And thank you again for coming on Back to Basics. And thank you all for being here. And thank you all for supporting me and supporting this show. And I will see you next time on